everybody. Thanks for listening. I'm Jenny. I'm a life coach, and today I'm talking about decision making struggles for empaths and INFJs. Uh, Empaths and INFJs usually struggle with a lot of indecisiveness, and this comes from a place of self doubt, a lack of trust in yourself, a lack of confidence. Um, but the thing to remember about decisions is sometimes there is no right or wrong answer. Sometimes it's just like picking from two different trails, right? There isn't a good trail and a bad trail. They're just different paths. You're going to see different things. You're going to have different experiences, but there is no right or wrong choice. Okay. So, um, and even good decisions don't necessarily guarantee a good outcome. Sometimes you just can't control the outcome. And if you get an outcome you didn't want, it doesn't always mean that you made the wrong choice. Sometimes that just means life is happening, life has its own plan. Um, we can also kind of get hung up on decisions where we could actually in the time we spend trying to decide between two decisions, we could have actually tried both of them. Or sometimes, one decision is permanent and one is not. And so if you try the impermanent decision first, then you still have the option and time to then try the permanent decision after that. But we a lot of the times make decision making more serious than it needs to be. And we forget that maybe this decision isn't permanent. Maybe I could just try both of these. And so that's an important thing to consider and think about. If a decision is not permanent, it's better to move too fast. And if a decision is permanent, it's better to move too slow. So it's important to think about, what decisions are permanent and what decisions are not permanent. Um, it's also important to start to see failure as a good thing. Another word for failure is just practice. And you can't get good at anything without practice. So, an experimental mindset is going to be really helpful. Like a what does this button do energy. So, if you make failure and imperfection the goal, that takes a lot of pressure off. Um, so, the more you fail, also, the more likely you are to succeed because failure is like playing Battleship. If you miss, then it just helps you narrow down where to aim next. Um, and there's a correlation between a positive correlation between failure and success. The more times you fail, the higher your chances also become of succeeding. Um, so and also, the more afraid you are to fail, the more likely you are to fail. So if you start to see failure as a good thing, um, it will help you. It's kind of like riding a bike. You're going to go where you look instead of where you want to go. So if you're focused on failing, you're going to steer the bike in that direction. Um, so think of failure as a really, really valuable tool. Try to think of failure as one of your best friends in making decisions. Uh, with problem solving, it's also important to balance masculine and feminine energy. So, like head, and you could also think of this as balancing your head and your heart energy. So, masculine energy is very logical, it's very goal oriented, it's very structured. Feminine energy is more creative, it's more intuitive. Um, and so, sometimes we're focused on a problem, we're looking at a problem through a place of structure and logic. And it's also important to then switch into your heart energy, see how you really feel about it on a deep level. And try to balance both of those things before you make a choice on something. Um, because of the self doubt, we also often ask other people for advice. We want other people's opinions, but those people haven't always been where we want to go. And it's important to not ask people for directions to places that they've never been, right? If you want to be in a healthy relationship, don't talk to your single friends, talk to your happily married friends because they're the ones who have been where you want to go. Um, And make sure you're talking to someone with a balanced pie. You don't want to talk to someone who has achieved what you want at the expense of the other things in their life. You want to talk to people who have achieved what you want while keeping the other parts of their life in balance. Okay. Elon Musk is one example of someone who has an unbalanced pie. He's very successful in business, but he's not very good at relationships, right? Like he doesn't spend any time with his family. He just spends all his time working. He doesn't even spend time taking care of himself. So that's an example of someone with an unbalanced pie. So you don't want to listen to those people either. Uh, we are mortal humans, even though we are somewhat magical, and our ability to make good decisions over the course of the day deteriorates every time we have to make a choice. This is called decision fatigue. Every time we have to think about how to reply to an email or how to comment on social media, we're draining the creative juice and energy away from the decisions that are more important to us. So, also do your best to eliminate the decisions that don't matter. Save as much of your energy as you can for the important decisions. Try to put those first as far as how you're prioritizing your energy. And also try to add space between impulses and decisions. This is really important advice for people who suffer from addictions or from impulsive behavior, but it's helpful for anyone who wants to make better decisions is add space in between a trigger or an impulse and the decision. Try to move really slow. The more important a decision is, the slower you want to move, the more time you want to give your subconscious to work on the problem without actively trying to over solve it through overthinking. And then also think about leveraging your most productive times of the day when you have important decisions to think about. This is going to be different for everyone, but when during the day do you feel the most calm and the most at peace? That's the time you want to devote to making really important decisions. And just remember that if you're a feeling type, if you're an empath who is a feeling type, your compass, your internal compass should not be based on logic. Your internal compass should be based on feeling. What feels best, what feels important, even if you can't logically explain it. That doesn't mean there isn't a logical explanation. It just means we're too human and too fallible to conceive the illogicalness of it. Um, so your homework is to create a map. Get a piece of paper, draw a little stick figure in the middle, and that is you. And then draw a little home around your stick figure. This is your home base. And you can always backtrack to your home base. And then on the other parts of the map, draw decisions you're trying to make, goals you want to reach, and then decide what path you want to take over the map to get to those different points. Decide where you want to go first, decide where you want to go second, you know, and you can always come back to your home base if you need to. Um, it could be a linear path straight through, five goals, or it could be a more meandering path. And this is not a rule that you have to follow, it's just a starting point. Um, that's everything I have for today, everybody. Thanks for listening. If you want coaching or more content, check out my website. Links are in the description. Bye, everybody.